Hello, hello, everybody. How's it going? Welcome, yes, to another LFC transfer room video. This is actually the debate room, and this is the first time that I'm here. I'm Dan. And this is going to be a little unusual because our members are currently on vacation. We gave them a whole week on vacation, so they're not going to be here. But we have some excellent guests. We have, of course, Mr. Drew, one of our regular writers of the LFC Transfer Room. How's it going, Drew? You doing okay, my friend?
I'm doing good. I have a lawnmower that just turned on outside my window, so I'll try to keep it brief and pass it on to you guys.
All good, my friend. No worries. And then we also have another of our writers. We have one of our main freelance writers, Mr. Damon Carr. How's it going, Damon?
All good, mate. All good. Brilliant time to be a Liverpool fan, innit? It's a 9-0 aggregate scoreline against Manchester United, and the only thing they have to cheer about now is just a new manager. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And hopefully we also have a few minutes to discuss what happened against Manchester United and what an amazing match that it was. We also have Jay, who is not an unusual face. He's actually one of our regular guests here on the show, one of our favorite guests here on the show. How you doing, Jay?
Even better after that, mate. Quite good. Just looking forward to the derby on the weekend, to be honest, mate. And it's not often I can say I'm enjoying. Looking forward to big games like that. So, yeah, just can't wait to get to the weekend for the footy.
Absolutely, and it was a very tough road so far, at least for April. You know, we faced Benfica in the Champions League. We faced Manchester United, Man City a couple of times. I mean, it's been just such a tough month, and there were just a couple of fixtures away from finishing this whole month. I mean, it's been such a headache. But look at us, we won so far most of the matches, so I'm pretty happy about that. But let's go into today's topic. Hopefully I'm doing everything right here. You know, this is my first time streaming, so if anything goes wrong, we'll try to edit it or fix it after the show. But today's topic is Sadio Mane and his future at the club. We've seen a new transition into that forward position, into the striker position. He's now a center forward. After the arrival of Luis Diaz, many people thought that he wasn't going to be around. He was going to be a backup, or maybe, you know, he was going to leave after a year or even this summer. I'm going to start asking a few of your opinions, but first I want to know, what is everyone's takes on Sadio Mane's new role? Let me start with Jay. Jay, what do you think about Sadio Mane's new role? Do you like it? Do you prefer him on the wing, or, you know, what's your take?
To be honest, when he first played the false nine the first time, I didn't think his touch was good enough on the first game that he played. Ball kept coming into his feet, and every time he was taking a touch, it was 2 or 3 yards ahead of him. But the last 2 to 3 games, I actually think he's looked much, much better than he has done for quite some time. More so than the left wing, definitely. So I actually think he's been thriving in the position now. So I do actually really like him in the false nine role at the minute.
Do you prefer him now than for the as a winger, or at least for the last couple of seasons of how he's been doing as a winger? Do you like him now as a striker better?
No, but he's accomplished too much for us as a winger. He's only played 3-4 games in a false nine role, so it would be impossible to say you prefer him in that role than wide on the left, because predominantly that's where he's played for us, and that's where he's won the Golden Boot, and we've won the Champions League, Premier League with him playing there. I'm one of the best in the world playing there, except for last season. So, no, I couldn't say I prefer him in the false nine, but as of right now, it's working well, so I wouldn't change it.
Absolutely. I mean, that's a huge point that Jay has brought up, and is the fact that Sadio Mane has actually thrived under that wing. He's gotten golden boots. He's gotten incredible matches and performances, and many praises. But Damon, let me go to you. Let me ask you something real quick. Do you agree with Jay? Do you think that his future lies as a winger, or do you prefer him more as a winger? Or are you more in the revolution of Sadio Mane becoming a striker? What do you think?
Well, I'm down the striker who like Jay's right now, because if we're comparing it to the winger of this season and last season, then there's no comparison, because Sadio Mane was one of the best in the world as a winger. But we're not. We're comparing it to the new Mane, the Mane that we've had the last 2 seasons, who's not been as good on the wing, not the one that was the best in the world at the point. So yeah, I would go striker now, and I'm enjoying him as a striker, to be honest. I think he's taking the role on as like anyone would, and Luis Diaz signing has not only been brilliant for him and another outlet, to have Mane going up front and performing the way he is doing. What a signing Diaz has been.
And yeah, I mean that's one of the effects that Jurgen Klopp has with the recruitment, with his signings, is that not only you bring in a new player, but also you're bringing in the level of other players, right? Of course, by the way, Jen is here. How's it going? One of our regular watchers and listeners. Same with Gary. How's it going, guys? If you have any questions, make sure to drop them in the comments. But now it's time to ask Drew. Drew, we heard it from Jay. We heard from Damon. What do you think, though? Do you think Sadio Mane has been thriving under as a striker position? Do you prefer him to go back as a winger, or are you like everybody else right now in the middle, in between, undecided?
I prefer him on the wing. I actually think Diogo Jota is getting a really short end of the stick right now. I think he's got 15 goals in the league, and he's played just a fraction of what Mane's played. I think Klopp has had this kind of, he backs his players. He backs his guys to the nth degree. I don't know anyone besides Salah who would be in the side on such a poor run of form and not get dropped at all. I feel like Mane sort of is in that camp as well. Whereas I know Jota picked up some injuries, but the fact that he isn't first name on the team sheet for the striker role when he's fit kind of surprises me. I know that people say his link-up play isn't always the best, but I'd argue that it's not a detriment to the game. I think he actually does link up pretty well, and I think that's a harsh criticism. Whereas you look at Salah, who is just completely ghosting games, and while he got some criticism for that, it was almost like people didn't compare that to Jota. It's like, well, Jota will ghost game and then score goals. It's like, well, Salah ghosted like 5, 6, 7 games on the bounce, and nothing there. But as far as Mane, I think if you do put him in the striker debate, you also lose Firmino. I think if you have 3 pecking order there, then Firmino would be last in the pecking order, and I don't know if he'd stay around for that, whereas I think he'd be happy with behind Jota. But I think having 2 options for each is right at the moment. And I don't know. I think Jota's getting the short end of the stick, and I think Mane's, all this conversation's based off of a really, really good past few games. And, it's too small of a sample size to really make a big decision like that.
Absolutely. Drew actually has such a few interesting points, and I'm actually going to ask Damon and Jay about what he said. But before we keep going, let me just say, Jen, you're awesome as always. If you guys don't know, one of the viewers, Jen, is always donating. You're awesome, Jen. We love you. And then, of course, Gary's saying hi, Jen. Also, Gary asked a question, and he said, is Mane a long-term 9 for Liverpool? That's what I'm going to ask as well in a few moments. But first, Jay and Damon, first with Jay, do you like how Sadio Mane has done so far? Do you think he's done it better than Firmino? Or do you think that there's nobody like Firmino at what he does? Because, there's many people that have said that Sadio Mane's resurgence into a striker is basically calling Firmino's time out at Liverpool. Do you agree, or do you think that Firmino is still best at what he does and Sadio Mane is just a temporary solution, Jay?
It's hard to say because it's not as if Firmino's been injured and that's why Mane's playing there. It's like Drew said, he seems to have picked Mane over Jota and Firmino playing that role. I don't think you can say, again, he's better than playing that role than Firmino because he's played 3 or 4 games there, judging against a player who's played 5, 6 seasons in that position. And there's no one really like Firmino in terms of the amount of ground he covers and the runs that he makes. Mane's obviously much quicker than Firmino, but Firmino's got much better technique than Mane in terms of ball at his feet. So Klopp idolises Firmino, so I don't see it being the end of Firmino. The fact that Mane's playing in the false 9, I just think it's going well at the minute, so you don't change something that's not broken, or you don't try and fix something that's not broken. Mane against United was arguably his best performance in the whole of last season or this. Don't get me wrong, United were terrible. But Mane did look really sharp last game.
That is true. I mean, there's nobody like Firmino, what he does, but we do have to take into consideration age. We need to take into consideration performances, which obviously Firmino has performances have gone down. Same with Mane, but now is revitalized. And Mohamed Salah's performances are also going down, but luckily against Man United, he scored a couple goals. Damon, do you think that if we keep Sadio Mane as a striker from now on, does that call the end for Firmino, or do you think we're still going to stick with Firmino long term? Or what would you be your preferred option in this case?
It's tough one, isn't it? Because it's not the Firmino that we saw 2 years ago, just like the Mane on the left wing. I mean, Mane on the left wing was irreplaceable on the left wing, so Firmino were the same up front. So we're not comparing it to the same Firmino. The Firmino that we're seeing now is a completely different one. He's still got something there as Firmino, but I just think he's lacking. I don't know, something about him when I see him playing now. Even his passing's a bit drab for him, and he's normally bang on it with passing. That's his main attribute, and his link-up play. But yeah, if Mane keep like Jay said, you don't fix anything that's not broken. So at the moment, you play by form, and if Mane is playing well up front, then keep him there. There's no reason to change it.
Absolutely. I mean, this is actually a valuable point as well. So I'm actually going to put Drew on the spot. And I'm going to ask you, Drew. Drew, you know, we've been linked with so many strikers this season. You know, the likes of Karina Adeyemi, Alexander Isak, I think Cody Gakpo, who is a winger and also a forward, a striker. What else? I mean, we had many links throughout the season. Lautaro Martinez. I mean, I don't know. There's so many. So the question is, if club decides to stick with Sadio Mane as a striker, Drew, do we need another signing for a striker position in the summer, or do you think we're good as it is now?
I think we actually do. Not maybe someone of. Actually, I don't know. Maybe we do need someone to force the question marks over the team. Like Luis Diaz, as we've been saying, you know, everyone thought he'd come to play second fiddle, sit on the bench, but he's come right into the team. And I'm wondering if we're getting to the point where we just need to be a little more cutthroat. Like I'm looking at the, you know, Jordan Henderson contract situation, and we just gave him, was it a 3-4 year deal, our option for 4 years, you know, based on basically rewarding a player for, you know, an immense task that he performed. He's been a great leader. He's been a great captain. He's been a great player for the squad. And I think all of that does deserve to be rewarded. But another 3-year contract, when it's already showing as soon as we gave him the contract, we get into the latter stages of the season, we might not see him in the starting lineup for big games from here on out. And I'm wondering if it's as, but at the same time, I wouldn't want to change that like ethos of the club, like that kind-hearted, you know, basically rewarding players for putting in good work. But I think the capacity of what goes into those deals needs to be in consideration. If Firmino's comfortable with playing a squad role on the bench, but with cut wages, you know, I think that's something worth doing. But I think we do need to be looking forward to the future and looking at the transition of the squad. I think we've already done that, and I think we're on the edge of being okay. But if you get someone like, if you pick up 2 injuries in that front lineup, like if you look at what happened with Van Dijk and Gomez last season, if that happens to Mane and Salah, you're all of a sudden relying on Jota, Luis, and Firmino to get the business done. So I think it's getting to that stage now where we might need to be a little more cutthroat into who we keep in the squad, or at least what capacity it is. So I think it's, if we do bring in a striker, you know, I think that's something we should be looking at in those terms.
Jay, do you agree? A striker or no striker in the summer? Clearly, Drew is in the boat that we need one. Do you think we also need one?
Only if one of the players that we see in the team now leave, because Divock Origi can't get a minute. So if you sign another striker, where does he play and when does he play? Because we're struggling to get Jota in the team, we're struggling to get Firmino in the team. Where does another striker come into the side if everyone stays? The other thing you've got to bear in mind is our midfield's aging. Milner, Henderson, I think since he signed that contract, Drew just touched on it, Henderson's nowhere near the level the rest of the midfield are playing. Thiago's injury prone, Keita's injury prone. Fabinho does pick up the odd knock, so for me the priority has to be the middle of the park, not forward. Our forward line at the minute is arguably the best in Europe, so I certainly don't think that's the priority for us. For me, it's got to be a midfielder.
Interesting. Now, Jay, with the shout that we don't need anybody up front. Damon, what about you? What do you think? Striker or no striker in the summer?
I don't think it's needed as much as what, like Jay said, the midfielder. Midfielder is definitely at least 2 midfielders, I think, as well, because just the injured prone players, like Jay said, Keita and Thiago, the others are aging, and there's only Fabinho really you can really rely on every single week that's fit and is at that level. The striker thing, I would be looking at one, but only if the right one's available, and it needs to be someone pretty young, maybe between 18 and 20, 24, something like that. You don't want to go any higher than that. There's no need for it. It needs to be someone that's going to be long-term the main man.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I agree. It has to be a young prospect. And that brings me to actually one of Jan's recent comments. Jan says, anybody seen that kid from Celtic that we just signed? Yes, that is Ben Doak, 16 years old, and it's a winger. I mean, just like Damon was saying, we need a younger profiles. And also Harry down here says, do you guys think that Fabio Carvalho being brought in influences the decision of Sadio Mane or maybe Firmino's contract? I mean, that's basically spot on with what Damon said. We're bringing 2 forwards in. That's actually the profile that we should be going after. But here's where my question comes in, Drew. If we keep bringing all these forwards, who is the first in line to leave? Or do you stick with everybody right now and we don't do anything just like Damon says? As it is, we're good? Or who do you think is the first in line to leave? Salah, Mane, Thiago Jota, who obviously is going to be controversial because he just came in and he's doing wonderful. But what do you think?
I think if we do get rid of someone, the most likely to get the chopping block would be, I don't know. I think like on form wise, it would have to be Firmino, but I'm actually wondering if, the American owners business wise and, who could they get the most money for? Like if you're thinking about whose contracts are running up, you have Salah, Mane, and Firmino. But who would we get the most money for? It'd be Salah or Mane. And I think one of those two would go if we were actually getting rid of, because then we'd get the money in to bring someone to replace them. As much as I would rather keep the best players in the squad for as long as possible, I think if you're going to lose them, then or have the potential to lose them, you need to get money from that deal and bring someone else in for the future.
Absolutely. That's a huge point as well that Drew is making. I mean, you also do have to consider, and like just like you guys were saying a few moments ago, Diogo Jota. I mean, he had an incredible season, and now he's suddenly back in the bench. I will ask you guys, obviously, what's your take on the whole Diogo Jota scenario, because he was doing wonderful. A lot of people were saying that he should start ahead of Firmino, in which he did. Then people started saying that he should start ahead of maybe Sadio Mane, and now Sadio Mane is back on his form. So the question is, should Diogo Jota fight to get back that winger spot now that Mane is in the middle, or should Diogo Jota fight for that striker position? What do you guys think? Jay, what's your take? Diogo Jota as a winger, Diogo Jota as a striker, what do we do with him?
I like him in both roles, to be honest, mate. I think the important thing now, if you're a forward for Liverpool, is when you get your chance, take it. Because if you don't, the other lads will. And yeah, Firmino's nowhere near the player he has been. But since he's came back into the team recently, I actually think he's looked a lot more like himself over the last 4 to 5 games when he has featured. I think he's looked a lot better than what he had done previously, because beginning of the season, to be honest, I thought Firmino's time's done now. I didn't really see what he was bringing to the team anymore. His pressing weren't there. His link-up play was poor. Just all around, he was playing poorly. But recently, I think he has upped his game again. But it's a big decision for Liverpool to make now, because I could almost guarantee we're not going to keep all of the front three that we're used to with Bobby, Mane, Salah. And I honestly couldn't tell you which one I think's going to go, because Klopp loves Firmino. Mane now looks like he's trying to rediscover his old form, albeit in a different position. And I know we've heard that the Salah contract's getting closer and whatnot, but it's not signed. And we can't take the risk of losing £100 million player on the basis he might sign. So a decision does need to be made in the summer, and what it's going to be, I honestly couldn't tell you. I really couldn't.
I mean, that's true. That's a pretty worrying fact. And even Paul also talks about it. He says, I mean, what if we win the quadruple? I mean, and then players like Mane and Salah decide for a new challenge. What if they want to go, Barcelona, Madrid, PSG, who knows? Are we okay with that? Would you guys be okay getting rid of players such as Mane and Salah? I mean, or do you think that will be such to do? Damon, what do you think? Would you be okay with getting rid of Mane and Salah and then bringing new players in?
It depends on who we bring in, doesn't it, really? If we lose Salah, we need to replace those goals. It's as simple as that. I mean, we had the debate the other week about Lewandowski. I won't get Lewandowski personally, but we need someone that stature that can score goals regular basis. We're losing Salah. We're losing at least 30 goals a season. I mean, the numbers he's putting up are ridiculous. If we lose Salah and Mane, that needs you can't replace that straight away. So we need to really think carefully about what we're doing. Regarding Jota, I prefer Jota on the left wing. I don't know why. I think it just suits him a little bit more than up front. I don't think he's more of a poacher, and I don't think the Klopp system suits the number 9 to be a poacher. Because a number 9 in Klopp's system needs to come back into midfield, and that's not Jota. Jota likes being in and around the box, and that's why he's clinical. Firmino, I think, is the one likely to go just because of his decline. Yes, Mane is declined, but again, he's got a new lease of life in the last few weeks. So, yeah, it depends who we get. If one of them goes, it all depends who we get. Who's available that can provide that numbers. I mean, Haaland's going to City. Mbappe looks Real Madrid bound. If I'm honest,
Adeyemi looks like he's going to Dortmund.
Yeah, exactly. So if we somehow convince Mbappe, that's the only replacement you can get really for Salah, I think, in terms of numbers.
Absolutely. And then, I mean, that being said, I mean, trying to wrap up a little bit regarding the Diogo Jota placement and future. And I know this is a debate for Sadio Mane, but we do have to consider that Sadio Mane ultimately ended up benching Jota, who had a place in the team after he came. Drew, do you see Jota having any future in that front line in the next year or two? Or do you think that Sadio Mane will come back and just, make that position of his own for the next couple of years?
I think Damon made a great point about our center forwards needing to drop and be interlinked with the play. I think Jota does thrive on that kind of fox in the box, pouncing on the goals, because I don't think he scored a goal from outside the box. I think he can link up. I think Mane is better at dropping back, but I don't know. I think it's like I said earlier, like I think it was the first thing I said in the stream. I think Jota is getting an unfair shake of things, because I was looking before we hopped on, and Sadio Mane has like 2,425 minutes in the Premier League, while Jota has 1,900, and Jota has more goals. And I think that at the end of the day, what's really keeping Firmino out of the side is that the squad is performing as well without him and getting goals. Like, I think everyone needs to contribute to the goals. I think that's our benefit if we do lose Salah or a Mane, is that there's people ready in the wings waiting to step up. I think Diaz is, we haven't seen his, goal scoring boots in, game out, but I think he's starting to get in the lines there. I think he was very upset with Salah the other night against Manchester United for not laying him in another easy goal, but he got on the score sheet there. And I think I'm more worried about Firmino's almost confidence in front of goal and his own shooting ability. He always tends to lay it off or try to make that unnecessary last second pass to get it in the net. But I think Jota does do well in terms of scoring goals. I think he's probably our most effective goal scorer at finding the back of the net. I think the stats prove that with just his minutes played versus his goals scored. So I agree. I think both Jay and Damon said that they see Jota on the wing, and I see that as well. But I think he needs to be in the lineup. And if he doesn't link up as well, maybe the winger is the best position for him, and then we can use the other side of the pitch and the striker to create that creative link up.
Absolutely, that's really interesting. The fact that everybody saw Diogo Jota as Roberto Firmino's long-term replacement, and now we're sitting here discussing the long-term future of Jota, thinking that maybe he's going to have a future as a winger and not as a striker, which is pretty surprising. Just to start wrapping up, because obviously this one is going to be a short one, Jay, let me ask you, who do you think is going to be part of that front three, or at least your ideal front three for the future? Do you think Sadio Mane is going to get in there, or do you think that age is going to take part into the situation and clubs should start, rotating and putting some more younger prospects in? What do you think?
Mane's 29 now, isn't he? Is that right?
Is it 30, 29?
29, 30. So,
Yeah,
he's coming to that latter end of his career, but he's the type, him and Salah, like you've seen Ronaldo now, the people who look after themselves, it doesn't matter if you're 32, 3, 4, 5. If you look after yourself properly, you can play well into your 30s and be effective doing it. But I don't see it being the end for Jota. It's like I said before, I think Mane's performing well in a role, and you don't change that when it's going well. Jota's definitely got a future at Liverpool. He's the third top goal scorer in the league. So yeah, he's definitely got a future, but I think Diaz is obviously a massive part of the future, and I think the reason we're not seeing Jota in the starting 11 as much is because Klopp probably didn't expect Diaz to have the impact he's had so quickly. I think he's thought, get him in, get used to the way we play, and in the summer next season he'll start playing more. But I think Diaz has been that good coming in. It's gave Klopp a headache, a good headache to have, but it has given him a headache deciding who to pick out that front three, because you can't really go wrong with it. They're all top class players. So I think obviously Salah and Diaz are always going to be the main two at the minute, and then the false nine. I think that's, like I say, it's hard to say, mate. It's just when you've got such a wealth of talent. I'm saying things in my head and then I'm disagreeing with myself as I'm saying them. So I
It's
honestly,
a hard one.
Yeah, mate. Right now I'd stick with the three that we had against City and against United, because it worked and we've beaten two big clubs comfortably, I'd say. So right now that'd be me three, but it doesn't mean that's the three forever going forward the next few years. That's why you'd have different options coming from the bench, so you can chop it up and change it up.
I guess my question really would be, is Sadio Mane part of the future in that front line? And I guess, Jay, you said it yourself. For now, at least you think he is, because it's worked. For the future, who knows? Damon, same question to you. Sadio Mane, is he gonna be part of that front three for the future, or just like some of the guys are saying, we need to replace and start bringing some new players in? What do you think?
I think definitely for the near future, but I still think there needs to be some sort of plan ahead, because whether it's this year or next summer, we definitely need another young striker, because we can't rely on Sadio and Salah to keep at that pace the older they get, because at some point they're going to decline, and they could decline at 34, they could decline at 37. You don't know. I mean, Ronaldo's declining now at 37, 36, 37. So you don't know, do you, really? You can't really tell how their bodies are going to be at 32 and 33. And that's why we need to plan now at looking at another striker, just someone for the future. But I do see Mane as the near future, definitely next couple of seasons at least.
Interesting. This very, very great to hear. So I mean, Jay is also at least Jay is undecided, but it's also leaning towards Sadio Mane being the striker for the next couple of years. Same with Damon. That means it's just you, Drew, left. What do you think? Do you think that Sadio Mane will be part of that Liverpool front three, or at least front line for the next couple of years as a striker, at least?
I think for the rest of the season, you got to keep him in. I think Jay made the point. If you're playing well, if it's not broke, don't fix it. And so I think by that he gets, through the rest of the season. As far as moving forward, I think the summer and preseason will be huge. I think if Salah does tie down the contract, I think that could be Mane gone. If Liverpool are looking to chop and change things. Also, I think that'd be the ultimate situation. Maybe Mane and Firmino. Who knows? Depending on how much they want to shake things up. If we're looking to build towards the future, it might not be worth keeping 30+ players as our starting front three. We're already seeing the likes of Diaz and Jota creep into that. And if we're looking for the new wave of transition, I think Liverpool was trying to do a more subtle, slower exchange of the guard in that front three. But I think if you're putting Salah on 300 grand a week, which now I'm starting to doubt with the resurgence of Mane, when everyone's under that. But I think it depends on that. I think it depends on the contract situation with Salah, and yeah, we'll see where it goes from there. But if Salah signs, I think that Mane could be out the door.
Now, just to finish off, I have a quick question for everybody. If we get a 50 to 60 million offer for Sadio Mane, do we sell or do we keep? Really quickly, everybody. Damon, 60, 50, 60 million offer, sell or keep?
If he carries on the way he's going, no, I'd reject it. You got to keep him. But if he declines again, then 60 million to get you Darwin Núñez. So probably.
And then, yeah, which, by the way, a lot of people are mentioning Núñez's name. Let me see if I can find them by there. There's a lot of big fans of Darwin Núñez. So for you, Damon, with current form, no to 60 million.
Or yeah, yes? No to 60 million, yeah.
Jay, yes or no? 60, 65 million, Sadio Mane?
I think if it's 60 above, you've got to look at what options you can get in as an alternative. Because, yeah, he's looked good for the last 4 games, but he's not looked so good for the last 18 months. So what are you going off, 4 games or 18 months? He is getting to 30. His contract is running out. He made a great point there. If you can get Darwin Núñez for 60 million and he's 20 years of age, then that to me would be a no-brainer. So yeah, I probably would consider it as long as I had someone lined up in place. So yeah, I'd definitely listen to it, 60 above.
Interesting. Look, we have a bunch of comments with different opinions. Jen says keep. Noman says sell. Gary says sell. Paul comes out and says that the money we're making this season, we should just easily cover Núñez. This is very true.
It's FSG. It's FSG. We've got to remember that.
That is true as well.
But then how can Núñez play? If you bring Núñez in now, who's he playing over? Do you know what I mean? You can't have him and him. It'd have to be, in my opinion,
leading.
How many strikers can you have? You can only play 3.
That is true. And also, by the way, quick mention on Noman, by the way, thank you for the donation, my friend. That's 2 donations already. We all love you. And then you're one of the main parts of I think one of the main guests is Jen. We have Noman. We have Haler. We have Gary. There's just so many long-term contributors. So thank you so much for that. And just to finish up, I haven't asked Drew yet. Let's just read the last comment from Haler before we ask Drew. Mane's official mark value at the moment is 72. Blasphemy. So 60 million maybe is a little underlined, but Drew, if you get that 60 million offer, 65 without add-ons, sell or keep this summer?
I'd want more. I think our financial guys could squeeze out at least 70 for Mane, given all that he's achieved, especially this season with the AFCON. But I would look to sell him at that point if you could get the likes of Nkunku, Serge Gnabry, or Núñez in for under that price. And again, I think that's the changing of the guard. I think we all have nostalgia around this. We don't want to, throw players under the bus, but it's also a business, and they're professionals. If we can keep them and keep adding in new players and work on that transition without it affecting the output, fine. But with City getting the likes of Haaland and turning over players consistently, I think we need to start looking for, the future squad.
Sentiment won't win us nothing either, will it? Do you know what I mean? You can't make decisions based on sentiment.
No.
You can't do that. You've seen Lampard at Chelsea. That was sentimental.
We're seeing it now.
Now he's at Everton.
We're seeing now Henderson, aren't we? He's declining. Because
and that's why sentiment doesn't win you things. No. You know what I mean? It's all good and well being loyal, but sentiment doesn't win. And that's why when people talk about when Klopp goes, Gerrard, well, based on what? If he achieves at Villa, yeah. If he doesn't, I don't want him anywhere near it.
The reason why Man United was so successful in the 90s and the 2000s because they knew when to get rid of players and replace them.
Yeah,
They
exactly.
didn't keep Van Nistelrooy. They didn't keep Ronaldo. They didn't keep Rooney. When they saw the decline, that was it. They're gone, replaced.
That's true. And then just two more comments that we're going to read. First of all, Noman, once again, our guy, we love you. Another donation there. You're the best. And then Haler also, by the way, said earlier something around here. He's recommending one of the songs. Let me see if I can find his comment. I'll check it out in a second. But again, thank you so much, Noman. You're right. You're right. We should not be making decisions about with sentiment. You know, we've seen what that happens. What happens when we do such decisions? If we need to cut someone off and then just bring someone in with like Nunez, I mean, it's totally comprehensive. Here's this, Haler says, listen to Bloodywood with Dan and Dan. Make it your theme song. We're gonna listen right after this. See if it's good. Next stream, we're gonna talk to you about this song. What else? There's been a really interesting thing. I mean, I guess we all have settled this debate, guys. Most of you agree that Sadio Mane has a future in that front line, at least for a couple of years. We all agree that he's doing incredibly well as a forward. You guys have also said that despite him doing really well at front, we need another signing in. It's probably someone in the younger profile, which I also agree with. And I mean, it's been really good. It's really good when we can all agree with these debates. But anyways, it's been 35 minutes of fun, guys. Debate. We enjoyed it. I'm sorry that I had to switch cameras. By the way, my phone died. And anyways, we're not gonna get into this. Next video we'll have maybe Kris, Anthony, Matty, Charlie. Who knows? Thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Damon. Thank you, Drew. Thank you, Jay. It's been the LFC Transfer Room, guys. We will talk to you soon, and keep liking, keep subscribing. Have a nice day.